The universe was full of life. Millions of species lived among the stars. They built cities on distant moons. They traveled through space in ships made of light and metal. They traded, talked, and formed alliances that lasted for thousands of years. But there was one planet they never visited. One world they marked with red warnings on every star map. Earth was a death world. The gravity was too strong. The weather was too violent. The air was filled with a gas called oxygen that burned like slow fire. And the creatures that lived there were monsters. They hunted each other. They ate flesh. They survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and diseases that killed billions. The beings who rose to rule that terrible planet were called humans. They were not the fastest or the strongest. They did not have claws or fangs or armored skin, but they had something worse. They never stopped. They could chase prey for days without rest. They could heal from wounds that would kill other species. They could adapt to any environment, eat almost anything, and turn even their own planet's dangers into weapons. The Galactic Assembly had watched them for centuries. They watched humans split the atom. They watched them reach their moon, then their neighboring planets. They watched them build ships that could cross the void between stars, and the Assembly decided to leave them alone. Let the Deathworlders stay in their corner of the galaxy. Let them believe they were alone. It was safer that way. For 300 years, this worked. Humanity spread quietly through nearby systems. They found abandoned stations in empty worlds. They learned that the galaxy was not empty, but they also learned that no one wanted to meet them. So they watched from the shadows. They studied. They prepared. Commander Tejo stood on the bridge of the United Earth. Defense Fleet Ship Horizon's Edge. He was 42 years old, with a strong build and calm eyes that had seen many battles. His crew respected him because he never asked them to do anything he would not do himself. The ship hung in orbit, around a small moon at the edge of human territory. It was a routine patrol. Nothing ever happened out here. The stars were quiet and cold. Then the signal came. Lieutenant Hannah was the first to notice it. She was young, only 28, with quick fingers and a sharp mind. Her job was to listen to the void, to catch whispers from distant places. Most of the time she heard nothing but static. But this was different. She sat up straight in her chair. Her eyes went wide. She checked her equipment twice, then 3 times. The signal was real, Commander, she said. Her voice was steady, but Tejo could hear the tension underneath. We have an incoming transmission. It is not human. The bridge went silent. Every officer stopped what they were doing. Tejo walked slowly to Hannah's station and looked at her screen. Source? He asked. The Volari system. 40 light years from here, Hannah swallowed hard. Sir, it is a distress call. Tejo felt something cold move through his chest. The Volari were known to humans only through intercepted communications and stolen data. They were a peaceful species, gentle. They had no military, no weapons, no way to defend themselves. Their entire civilization was built on medicine and science. They helped other species heal, and someone was hurting them. Play it, Tejo ordered. Hannah pressed a button. A voice filled the bridge. It was thin and afraid, speaking in a language that the ship's computer translated in real time. Please, anyone who can hear this. They are coming. The Krath, they have surrounded our world. They will take everything. Our people. Our children. Our future. The voice broke with emotion. We cannot fight. We do not know how. Please, if anyone can hear us, help us. The message ended. The bridge remained silent. Tejo looked at his senior officers. June, his tactical specialist, was already pulling up information on the Krath Una. The chief engineer was checking the ship's systems. Sung, the intelligence analyst, was searching through databases for anything useful. The Krath Dominion, June said. His face was grim. Insectoid species. 4 arms, armored bodies. They conquer worlds and strip them of resources. They have taken over 200 systems in the last century. The Volari have no way to stop them, Sung added. Their biology makes them incapable of violence. They physically cannot fight. Alna looked up from her console. Commander, the Valari have never contacted humans before. No one in the galaxy has. They are terrified of us. Tejo nodded slowly. He understood. To the rest of the universe, humans were the monsters in the dark. The Deathworlders who breathed poison and crushed bone with their bare hands. The species that evolved by killing everything in its path. But now those same species were calling for help. They were so desperate, so afraid, that they reached out to the one thing they feared most. "Send a message to Earth Command," Tejo said. His voice was quiet but firm. "Tell them we have received a distress signal from a non-human civilization. Tell them the Valari are under attack." He paused and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an entire world was waiting to die. They had sent their cry into the void, hoping that someone would answer. "And tell them," Tejo continued, "that the horizon's edge is responding." Hannah's fingers moved across her console. The message was sent. There was no taking it back now. June stepped closer to Tejo. "Sir, you know what this means? If we go there, we reveal ourselves. The whole galaxy will know that humans are not just a rumor." Tejo turned to face his crew. These men and women had trained their whole lives for a moment that might never come. Now it was here. 300 years, we have hidden, Tejo said. We watched. We waited. We let the galaxy think we were ghosts. He straightened his shoulders. But we did not become strong just to hide. We became strong to protect. And right now, someone needs protection. He looked at each of them in turn. "Prepare the ship for faster-than-light travel. We are going to Valari Prime." The crew moved with purpose. Engines hummed to life. Navigation systems locked onto distant coordinates. The Deathworlders were coming out of the shadows. And the galaxy would never be the same. The horizon's edge dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Valari system. What Tejo saw through the main viewing screen made his jaw tighten. Dozens of warships hung in space around the blue and green planet below. They were ugly things, all sharp angles, and dark metal. Each one was covered in weapons. The symbol painted on their hulls showed a claw crushing a star. The Krath Dominion had arrived in force. Counting 53 enemy vessels, June reported from his station, 20 heavy cruisers, 30 destroyers, and 3 carrier-class ships. They have enough firepower to burn the whole planet. Yuna shook her head. Against that fleet, we are just one ship. For now, Tejo said. Earth Command received our message. Reinforcements are coming. But we need to make contact with the Valari first. Hannah worked at her console. I am sending a signal to the planet's surface, letting them know we are here to help. The response came quickly. A face appeared on the screen. It was not human. The being had pale blue skin, large dark eyes, and a delicate frame. Its movements were slow and graceful. When it spoke, its voice was soft like wind through leaves. I am High Counselor Nethri of the Valari Collective. You are humans. Tejo stepped forward. I am Commander Tejo of the United Earth Defense Fleet. We received your distress signal. We are here to help. Nethri's large eyes filled with something between hope and fear. We did not believe anyone would come, especially not your kind. The stories about your world? The counselor paused. They say you breathe fire and crush metal with your hands. Hannah smiled gently. We breathe oxygen. And we are stronger than most species. Yes, but we did not come here to hurt you. We came because you asked, Tejo added. That is enough. The Valari counselor was quiet for a long moment. Then Nethri nodded slowly. Then we welcome you, Commander. But I must warn you. The Krath are many. They have conquered worlds far stronger than ours. What can one ship do against such an enemy? One ship can do many things, Tejo replied. But we will not be alone for long. As if to prove his words, the ship's sensors began to flash. June's face lit up with a rare smile. Commander, 2 more contacts dropping out of faster-than-light travel. It is the Iron Will and the Silent Fury. 2 massive human carriers appeared in space behind the horizon's edge. They were 5 times larger than Tejo's ship, each one carrying hundreds of smaller fighters and thousands of soldiers. and with them came 3 transport ships filled with Earth Marines. A new voice came through the communication system. It was sharp and confident. "This is Colonel Dehai of the 3rd Marine Battalion. Commander Tejo, my soldiers are ready for deployment. Just point us at the enemy." Tejo allowed himself a small smile. Dehai was a legend in the fleet. She had fought in the Martian insurrection 20 years ago, leading her troops through tunnels and craters against rebels who knew the terrain. She never lost a battle. She never left a soldier behind. "Good to have you, Colonel," Tejo said. "Stand by for orders." On the planet below, Nethri watched the human ships gather. The counselor's thin hands trembled. "So many. And yet the Kraths still outnumber you." "Numbers are not everything," Tejo said. "Trust us." Before the Valari could respond, another signal cut through the communication channel. A harsh, clicking voice filled the bridge. It sounded like stones grinding together. Humans. The word was spoken with disgust. "So the Deathworlders have finally crawled out of their hole. I am Warlord Krathvar of the Dominion. You are interfering in matters that do not concern you." Tejo did not flinch. "The Valari asked for help. We answered. Leave this system now, and there will be no conflict." The Krath warlord laughed. It was an ugly sound. "You think I fear you? We have crushed 1,000 worlds. We have broken species far older and stronger than yours. Your little fleet is nothing to us." "Then you have nothing to worry about," Tejo said calmly. "But I will give you one warning, Warlord. Leave now. This is your only chance." The communication cut off. The Krath ships began to move into attack formation. June looked at his commander. "He is not going to leave." Tejo agreed. "He is not." On the Valari homeworld, Hannah transported down with a small team. The planet was beautiful. Gardens filled with glowing flowers stretched in every direction. The buildings were made of something that looked like white crystal. The air was sweet and clean, but the people were afraid. Valari of all ages huddled in shelters, looking up at the sky with wide, frightened eyes. They had never known war. They did not understand violence. The concept of fighting back was as foreign to them as breathing water. Hannah met with the planetary leaders in a great hall filled with soft light. They stared at her like she was some kind of strange creature. And to them, she was. She was taller than any Valari by nearly half a meter. Her body was dense with muscle that their species could never develop. Her eyes moved constantly, tracking motion, watching for threats. It was instinct. All humans did it. "We will protect your people," Hannah told them. "But we need your help too." An elder Valari stepped forward. "We cannot fight. It is not in our nature." "You do not need to fight," Hannah said. "You need to survive. Hide your people underground. Move your food and water to safe places. And if you see Krath soldiers, do not confront them. Run, hide, stay alive." She paused and looked at each face in the room. "My people will handle the fighting. That is what we do. It is what we have always done. Your job is to keep your civilization safe until the battle is over." The Valari looked at each other. It was hard for them to understand a species built for violence. But in Hannah's eyes, they saw something unexpected. Kindness, warmth, a desire to protect rather than destroy. Maybe the Deathworlders are not what the story said. Back in orbit, Tejo watched the Krath fleet approach. They were confident. They had won every battle they ever fought. They did not know what was coming. He opened a channel to his ships. "All vessels, this is Commander Tejo. The enemy thinks we are weak because we are few. They think we will break because we are different from them." He let the words hang in the silence of space. "Show them what Deathworlders can do." The human fleet moved forward, engines burning bright against the endless dark. The first battle between humanity and the Krath Dominion was about to begin. The Krath expected war to be simple. They would attack. The humans would defend. The stronger force would win. That was how it always worked. But humans did not fight like other species. The first Krath supply station went dark 3 days after the standoff began. One moment it was sending signals. The next, nothing. When a patrol ship went to investigate, they found the station empty. The lights were off. The power cores had been removed. There were no bodies, no signs of battle, just silence. The Krath commander in charge of supplies sent an angry message to Warlord Krathvar. Someone destroyed our station. We do not know how. The warlord ordered more patrols, more guards, more vigilance. It did not help. Colonel Dehai led her Marines through the darkness of space. They wore special suits that absorbed light and heat, making them nearly invisible to sensors. They moved in small teams of 6, slipping past Krath patrols like ghosts. Dehai was 51 years old, but she moved like a woman half her age. Her body was covered in scars from a lifetime of combat. Her eyes were cold and focused. She had stopped counting her kills many years ago. Team 2 report, she whispered into her helmet communication. Station 5 is down, came the reply. Power disabled. Fuel lines cut. We are moving to extraction point. That was 5 stations in 2 nights. The Krath fleet would start running low on supplies soon. On board the Horizon's Edge, Una led a different kind of warfare. Her fingers danced across holographic displays as she worked her way into the Krath computer networks. Their security was strong, but Una was stronger. I am in, she announced. Sung leaned over her shoulder, watching the streams of alien data flow across the screen. What can you do? He asked. Una cracked her knuckles. Watch. Across the Krath fleet, strange things began to happen. Navigation systems showed wrong coordinates. Ships that were supposed to meet ended up in empty space. Ammunition reports claimed supplies that did not exist. One destroyer received orders to power down for maintenance. The orders looked real. They were not. By the time the Krath realized what was happening, 3 of their ships collided with each other in a confused mess of false signals and wrong turns. Warlord. Krathvar raged on his command ship. Find them. He screamed at his officers. Find the humans and destroy them. But the humans were everywhere and nowhere. They did not stand and fight. They hit fast and vanished. They broke things and disappeared. They turned the Krath's own size against them. June called it persistence hunting. It was an old human technique from Earth, where their ancestors would chase animals across great distances. The prey was always faster at first. But humans did not get tired. They just kept coming. Hour after hour. Day after day. Until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. Now they were doing the same thing to the Krath. Not chasing them across land, but wearing them down. Breaking their supplies, destroying their rest, filling their minds with doubt and fear, and it was working on Valari Prime. Hannah walked through underground shelters filled with frightened civilians. The Krath had landed soldiers on the planet, searching for resources and slaves. But the Valari had listened to human advice. They hid well. How do you do it? Asked a young Valari named Siltha. She was barely an adult by her species standards, with curious eyes that reminded Hannah of a child back on Earth. How do you live without fear? Hannah sat down next to her. We have fear. All humans do. Fear keeps us alive, but you fight anyway. Yes. Hannah looked at her hands. They were rough and calloused from years of training. Because some things are more important than being afraid. Like protecting people who cannot protect themselves. Siltha was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, can you teach us? Not to fight, but to be brave? Hannah put a gentle hand on the young Valaria's shoulder. You are already brave. You survived this long. You kept your people safe. That takes courage too. Above them, the war continued. Sung had discovered something important in the data Una stole from the Krath. The enemy fleet was not as united as it appeared. Different ships belonged to different commanders, and those commanders did not like each other. They were rivals competing for the warlord's favor. Can use this, Sung told Teho. If we make them distrust each other, they will fight among themselves. Teho nodded. Do it. Over the next week, fake messages appeared in Krath communication channels. One commander accused another of stealing supplies. A third received secret orders that seemed to come from the warlord himself, orders that made no sense. Arguments broke out. Accusations flew. Two ships nearly fired on each other before cooler heads stopped them. The Krath fleet was falling apart from the inside. But Warlord Krathvar was not stupid. He knew something was wrong. He knew the humans were playing tricks, and he was done being patient. Enough games, he growled. We attack now. All ships! Full assault on Valari Prime. If we cannot catch the humans in space, we will burn them out on the ground. The Krath fleet began to move. 53 ships turned toward the planet, weapons powering up, soldiers preparing for invasion. On the horizon's edge, June watched the enemy approach. They are coming in force, Commander. No more hiding. This will be a real battle. Tejo stood at his command station, calm as always. They had spent days weakening the enemy, cutting their supplies, breaking their morale. Now it was time for the final step. Signal the Iron Will and Silent Fury, Tejo ordered. Tell Colonel Dahai to prepare her boarding teams, and bring our ships out of hiding. Behind the moons of Valari Prime, where they had been waiting in perfect silence, the human fleet powered up their engines. Running lights flickered to life. Weapon systems hummed with deadly energy. The trap was set. The prey was exhausted. Now the hunters would finish the job. Tejo opened a channel to all human forces. His voice was steady and strong.
Is it?
Everything we trained for. Everything we prepared for. The galaxy is watching. Let us show them what we are made of. The human fleet emerged from the shadows, engines blazing like stars. The Battle of Valari Prime had begun. Space lit up with fire. The human fleet came out from behind the moons in perfect formation. The Iron Will and Silent Fury led the charge, their massive hulls cutting through the void like mountains moving through clouds. Behind them, smaller ships spread out in patterns designed to confuse enemy targeting systems. Tejo watched the battle unfold from the bridge of the horizon's edge. His ship was at the front, leading the attack. That was how he always did things. Never asking his people to face danger, he would not face himself. Enemy fleet engaging, June reported. They are firing everything they have. The Krath weapons were powerful. Energy beams and explosive missiles streaked across space, filling the darkness with deadly light. But the human ships were fast. They moved in ways the Krath did not expect, dodging and weaving instead of standing still. Return fire, Tejo ordered. The human ships answered. Railguns sent metal projectiles screaming through space at incredible speeds. Each impact tore through Krath armor like paper. The first enemy destroyer exploded in a ball of flame. Then another. Then 3 more. On the carrier Iron Will, flight controllers launched wave after wave of small fighter craft. Each one carried a pilot trained since childhood for exactly this moment. They flew in tight groups, working together like parts of a single mind. A young pilot named Yun Bai led her squadron toward a cluster of Krath ships. She was only 23, but she had more flight hours than pilots twice her age. Her hands moved across the controls without hesitation. Out. Stay tight, she told her squadron. Hit them fast and pull back. Do not give them time to aim. Her fighters dived toward the enemy. They fired their weapons in short, precise bursts. Then they scattered before the Krath could respond. 3 enemy ships lost their engines. 2 more had their weapons destroyed. The Krath tried to chase them. But human fighters were small and quick. Trying to catch them was like trying to catch flies with a hammer. Meanwhile, Colonel Dahai was leading a more dangerous mission. Her transport ship flew straight toward the Krath flagship. It was a massive vessel, twice the size of any other ship in the enemy fleet. Warlord Krathvar commanded his forces from there. If they could take it, the battle would be over. 30 seconds to boarding, the pilot announced. Dahai checked her weapon one more time. Around her, 200 Marines sat in silence, their faces hidden behind combat helmets. They were ready. The transport hit the flagship's hull with a loud clang. Cutting tools burned through enemy armor in seconds. Then the doors opened, and the Marines poured inside. The corridors of the Krath ship were narrow and dark. They were built for beings with 4 arms and low bodies. Humans had to crouch and squeeze through spaces that were too small, but they did it anyway. The first Krath soldiers came around a corner, weapons ready. They expected the humans to hesitate, to be confused by the strange environment. Instead, Dahai's Marines opened fire without slowing down. Their weapons roared in the tight space. Krath soldiers fell one after another, their armored bodies no match for human firepower. Dahai led from the front. Her movements were smooth and deadly. Each shot found its target. Each step brought her closer to the bridge. A Krath warrior jumped out from a side passage, all 4 arms swinging with bladed weapons. Dahai ducked under the first strike, blocked the second with her armored forearm, and drove her combat knife into the creature's throat. It collapsed, still twitching. She stepped over the body and kept moving. "Bridge is 2 levels up," her second-in-command reported. "Heavy resistance ahead." Dahai nodded. "We go through them." Back in space, the battle was turning. The Krath fleet, weakened by days of sabotage and confusion, could not match the human assault. Ships tried to retreat, but found their escape routes blocked. Others surrendered, their crews too exhausted and scared to keep fighting. On the horizon's edge, Yuna was still working her magic on enemy systems. "I have control of their fleet communication network," she announced. "Cutting their coordination now." Suddenly, the Krath ships could not talk to each other. Orders stopped coming. Commanders did not know what their neighbors were doing. The fleet fell into chaos. Sung watched the tactical display with satisfaction. "They are falling apart." "Keep the pressure on," Teho ordered. "Do not give them time to recover." Not. On the planet below, something important was happening. The Krath ground forces had been trying to capture Valari civilians for days. But everywhere they went, they found empty buildings and abandoned streets. The Valari had hidden themselves well, and they had done something else. Something no one expected. Power lines across the planet went dead. Not destroyed, but disconnected. Krath vehicles stopped working because their fuel had been drained. Communication towers fell silent because someone had removed key parts. The Valari could not fight, but they could resist. They could make themselves impossible to catch. They could turn their own world into a maze that the Krath could not navigate. Hannah watched from the underground shelter, receiving reports from across the planet. She smiled. The gentle Valari had found their own kind of courage. On the Krath flagship, Dahai reached the bridge. The doors were sealed, but human cutting tools made quick work of them. When the metal fell away, she stepped through with her weapon raised. Warlord Krathvar stood waiting for her. He was huge, even for his species. His forearms held weapons of different kinds. His eyes burned with hatred. "Deathworlder," he spat. "You think you have one? I will tear you apart with my bare hands." Dahai lowered her gun. She pulled out her combat knife instead. "Then try." The warlord attacked. He was fast, much faster than he looked. His blades cut through the air in deadly arcs. Any other species would have died in the first second. But Dahai was human. Her ancestors had killed animals 10 times their size with nothing but sharpened sticks. They had survived predators, ice ages, and each other. Violence was written into her blood. She moved like water, flowing around each attack. Her knife found weak points in the warlord's armor. Small cuts at first, then deeper ones. The Krath was strong, but Dahai did not stop. She did not slow down. She did not get tired. 3 minutes later, Warlord Krathvar fell to his knees. Bleeding from a dozen wounds, Dahai stood over him, not even breathing hard. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your army is broken. Your war is over." She grabbed his head and forced him to look at her. "Remember this moment. Remember what happens when you threaten the innocent?" Ow. She turned to her Marines. "Secure the bridge. Signal the fleet." The message went out across all channels, human and Krath alike. The flagship had fallen. The battle was over. The humans had won. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Krath, Dominion, conquerors of 200 worlds, had been defeated. Not by a great empire, not by an ancient civilization, by a species that most beings had only heard about in frightening stories. The Deathworlders had come out of the shadows. And they had won. On Valari Prime, the people emerged from their hiding places for the first time in weeks. They looked up at the sky and saw human ships orbiting peacefully above. No more Krath warships. No more threats. Just blue sky and hope. High Counselor Nethri walked through the streets of the capital city. Everywhere, Valari were crying. Some with relief. Some with joy. Many still with lingering fear. Their world had almost ended. It would take time to heal. A human shuttle landed in the central plaza. The doors opened, and Commander Tejo stepped out with Hannah beside him. Behind them came June, Yuna, and Sung. They wore clean uniforms instead of armor. They came as guests, not soldiers. Nethri approached them slowly. The human commander was taller than the counselor by nearly 2 heads. His presence was overwhelming. And yet, there was kindness in his eyes. "Commander Tejo," Nethri said, "I do not have words to thank you. You saved my people. You saved our entire civilization." Tejo shook his head. "You saved yourselves. We just helped. Without your help, we would all be dead or enslaved. That is why we came." Tejo looked around at the gathered Valari, hundreds of them watching from a respectful distance. "Your signal reached us because you were brave enough to send it. You trusted us, even though you feared us. That means something." Hannah stepped forward. "The Krath fleet has been destroyed. Their warlord is in custody. Any survivors will be sent back to Dominion space with a message." "What message?" Nethri asked. "That the Valari are under human protection now. Anyone who threatens them answers to us." A murmur went through the crowd. Under human protection? 300 years ago, those words would have sounded like a threat. Now they sounded like salvation. 2 weeks later, the Galactic Assembly convened an emergency meeting. Representatives from over 1,000 species gathered in a vast chamber at the center of known space. They came from worlds of ice and fire, from gas giants and ocean planets, from civilizations older than human history, and for the first time ever, they had invited a human to speak. Hannah was chosen for the task. She stood at the central platform, a single figure in a sea of alien faces. Some watched her with curiosity, others with fear, a few with open hostility. She took a deep breath and began. "I know what you think of us. Deathworlders, monsters, creatures from a planet so violent that evolution turned us into weapons." She paused. "You are not wrong." Silence. Every being in the chamber was listening. Earth is everything you fear. High gravity that crushes weaker bodies. An atmosphere that burns from the inside. Predators that hunt in packs and never give up. And we are the worst of all. We adapted. We survived. We became the apex predators of a world designed to kill. She walked slowly across the platform, making eye contact with different delegations. "For 300 years we stayed hidden. We knew you were afraid. We did not want to cause panic, so we watched. We learned. We built our strength in silence, hoping that one day we could prove we were more than monsters." Her voice grew stronger. That day came when the Valari sent their signal. A peaceful species with no way to fight, begging for help against an enemy that would destroy them. They reached out to the galaxy, and only one civilization answered. She stopped in the center of the platform. "We did not come to conquer. We did not come for resources or territory or slaves. We came because someone asked for help, because that is what humans do. We protect. We defend. We stand between the darkness and those who cannot face it alone." High Counselor Nethri rose from the Valari delegation. "I speak for my people. The humans saved us when no one else would. They asked for nothing in return. They are not the monsters the stories describe. They are protectors." Other voices joined in. Species that had been watching the battle from a distance. Species that had lost worlds to the Krath and never had the strength to fight back. One by one, they stood and spoke in support of the humans. Hannah waited for the noise to settle. Then she spoke her final words. "We do not ask for your trust. We know it must be earned. But we offer our hand in friendship. The Krath were not the first conquerors in this galaxy, and they will not be the last. Dark times are coming. Times when the peaceful and the gentle will need someone to stand with them." She raised her chin. "We will answer." The chamber erupted in sound. Debate, discussion, argument, but underneath it all, something had changed. The galaxy was looking at humanity with new eyes. Back on the horizon's edge, Tejo watched the broadcast with his senior officers. Colonel Dahai had joined them, her arm still in a medical sleeve from her battle with the warlord. She did not seem bothered by it. "Think they will accept?" June asked. Tejo was quiet for a moment. "Some will. Some will not. It will take years, maybe generations, before they truly trust us." "Was it worth it?" Yuna asked. "Coming out of hiding? Showing the galaxy what we are," as Tejo turned to face his crew. "Because hiding was never the answer. We were born on a world of struggle and violence. That made us strong. But strength without purpose is nothing. Now we have purpose." Sung nodded slowly. "To protect those who cannot protect themselves? Exactly." Dahai cracked a rare smile. "Never thought I would live to see it. Humans as the good guys. The galaxy's protectors instead of its nightmares." "We are both," Tejo said. "Nightmares to those who threaten the innocent. Protectors to those who need us. That is who we are." He looked out at the stars through the viewing window. Somewhere out there, species he had never met were talking about humanity for the first time. Some with fear, some with hope, some with both. The old era was over. For 300 years, humans had hidden in the shadows, watching, waiting, preparing. Now, a new dawn had begun. The Deathworlders had taken their place among the stars, not as conquerors, not as monsters, but as guardians, and the galaxy would never forget.